On a sunny day in the city square, as I strummed my guitar, a mysterious woman named Karen caught my attention with her unsettling gaze. Little did I know that Karen will steal my tip money 'cause she needs it more than me. Here's how it all went down. On a sunny day in the city square, I was playing my guitar, just like every other Saturday. I've been busking for years, driven by my dream of becoming a famous musician. Though that big break hadn't come yet, the square had become my regular sanctuary where I could share my passion with others. The money I earned from busking was crucial. It not only helped me pay the bills but also funded my music lessons and the occasional recording session, inching me closer to my dream. That day, I noticed more tips than usual in my guitar case, and it gave me a glimmer of hope and a feeling that it was going to be a good day. But while playing, I noticed a woman, Karen, who kept pacing around the square, her eyes constantly darting towards my guitar case. I felt a bit anxious but continued playing, hoping she was just admiring the music. After I played a few songs, Karen strutted up, her heels clicking loudly on the pavement. She hovered over my guitar case, her eyes wide. "Wow, that's a lot of money for just some strumming," she sneered. I tried to diffuse the tension. "People seem to enjoy the tunes. Maybe you'd like a song." Instead of answering, Karen started to dance dramatically, swinging her arms and singing loudly, drawing attention from everyone around. "I think you've made enough today," she shouted mid-twirl. Bewildered, I responded, "People give what they feel. I don't demand anything." Ignoring me, she suddenly reached into my case and yanked out a handful of money. My heart raced. "Hey, stop that! I need this money!" she exclaimed, throwing some of it into the air like confetti, then pocketing the rest. I was flabbergasted. "Why are you doing this?" She grinned crazily. "There's a huge sale going on, and I deserve a shopping spree." As I tried to confront her, she pulled out a bright red lipstick from her bag, drawing a line on my guitar's body. "This will make it pop," she giggled. Stunned, I retorted, "That's not a canvas! Give back the money and stop this madness!" With a wild look in her eyes, Karen held my guitar above her head, threatening, "Come any closer, and I'll give this guitar a makeover it'll never forget." The scene was so surreal. The money was important, but the guitar meant everything. It was like watching a wild show with Karen at its center. A small crowd had gathered, sensing the tension. Among them, a police officer began approaching. "What's the issue here?" he asked. Quick to defend herself, Karen exclaimed, "He's trying to take my money." I felt my heart racing as I spoke up. "Officer, I've been playing here every Saturday for years. This is how I earn my living. That's my tip money. Karen just took it." From around us, voices in the crowd chimed in. "We saw it, officer!" yelled a man. Another woman added, "He's telling the truth. She grabbed the money right out of his case." The officer, with a hint of impatience, turned to Karen. "Ma'am, did you take his money?" Karen, with a mix of defiance and frustration, retorted, "Look, he looks well off with his fancy guitar and clothes. People give that money as a donation, right? Donations are for everyone. I need it more than he does." I was taken aback. Sure, I tried to present myself well when I played in public, but looks could be deceiving. "It's not about how I look," I interjected. "It's about the effort and dedication I put into my music." The officer nodded. "Regardless of how someone looks, you can't just take their earnings. That's theft. Return the money." Rolling her eyes, Karen pulled the bills from her bag and handed them back to me, remarking, "People are so touchy about money." I was at a loss for words at her audacity, but my main concern was my guitar and the money meant for my dreams. "Thank you, officer," I said, my voice shaky but grateful. The officer gave a nod. "Do let us know if there's any more trouble. Just try to stay safe." He then signaled for the onlookers to move along, allowing me to continue my performance. As the day went on, the incident with Karen became a distant memory, replaced by the supportive gestures and kind words from the crowd. The square once again echoed with melodies, and I was reminded of why I played, for the love of music and the community it brought together. As a fellow guitarist, this story breaks my heart. It's tough enough pursuing our dreams, and then someone like Karen comes along. Stay strong, my friend, and keep playing from the heart. The music will always triumph. I never expected to uncover the dark secret hidden beneath my best friend's seemingly innocent relationship with his mother. As the truth unraveled, the shocking reality of their twisted bond came to light. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a chilling tale that would forever change our lives. Here's how it all went down. My best friend, who I grew up with, used to get teased a lot about being a mama's boy. Honestly, now that I look back on it, he's always had a very strange relationship with his mother. As we got older and started getting into girls more, he would say weird stuff. Normally, I'd laugh it off and call him a weirdo. When we were checking out girls, he'd say things like, my mom has a way better body than she could ever have, or my mom's boobs are way bigger and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, it's always been just him and his mom. Growing up, I had never seen him have a girlfriend. I mean, he talked to girls and stuff, but I never physically saw him in a relationship with any girl until the one he got married to. Fast forward to this past weekend, and his wife, who I'm really cool with, says to me, I hate it when he goes on his family trips because whenever he comes back home to me, he's always cold and acts like a jerk to me. So we started talking about his family trips. I remember when he started taking family trips after he got married, I always thought that because he was old enough and mature now, he'd go and spend time with his father or something. I don't really know, but when his wife said it was just him and his mom, and they do this family trip every month or so. We started talking. Things got even weirder to the point where he said, okay, enough crazy for one night. He takes family trips over the weekend with just him and his mom every other month. It started to become more frequent the longer his marriage went on. I spoke to him today and just joked around about stuff pertaining to his situation, and he got kind of agitated towards me. He said, what, you think I'm banging my mom? What kind of freak does that? I just rolled with it, kind of laughed it off, and said I was just messing with him, but his reaction was not genuine at all. There is a lot more to add, but I really don't want to fully go into every detail. If his wife is cool with it, should I be too? He's like a brother to me, so should I just let this go and forget about it? I don't want to ruin our relationship or sour it or even possibly uncover something that makes him do something extremely irrational. If it has been going on this long, I want to try and help him. A week after, my wife, our friend's wife, and I sat at their house and had a long discussion on how to approach this delicate situation. We decided that it's best to simply come out and talk about what is going on and how we are feeling. His wife wanted to discuss everything, but didn't want to do it alone. So she asked if we could join them and support her in addressing the issue. Fast forward to Saturday, we went over to their house to have this, I don't even know what to call it, big talk? My wife and I sat on one couch, while he and his wife sat on the other couch watching TV and talking. Suddenly, his wife grabbed the remote, turned off the TV, and said that we all needed to have a talk. For some reason, she completely ignored everything we had discussed earlier about breaking the ice and approaching the situation with warmth and understanding. Instead, she went straight for the jugular, asking questions like, what's going on with you and your mother, and you need to be honest with me. Our carefully planned approach went out the window within the first few seconds. It felt like she was attacking him and backing him into a corner, rather than being there for him. I was angry, but I couldn't say anything since she's his wife. She bombarded him with questions and accusations, and when she finally paused, I quickly intervened to try and bring down the tension in the room. I brought up things from our past, like our childhood and school days, and mentioned some of the things he had said that seemed off, and his awkward behavior. I tried to lighten the mood with a few jokes, and thankfully my wife laughed and tried to help make light of the situation. However, his face, he looked disgusted and defeated. He didn't respond to anything, just sat there quietly, seemingly consumed by his own misery. As soon as I finished speaking, his wife immediately went back into attack mode, saying things like, "Are you just going to sit there while we ask you these questions? And your silence speaks volumes." After about 30 minutes of us asking him questions, he stood up, clenched his fists, and finally responded. He was angry that we would suggest such things and asked if we were all sick people trying to turn the tables on us. That's when his wife stood up, started crying, and accused him of lying because she noticed that he touches his face a lot and looks at the floor when he lies, which is true. She cried even more and screamed, asking him very personal questions about their marriage. Until that day, I had always been somewhat jealous of their marriage. They always seemed happier than us, never really argued, were very passionate towards each other, and never complained. But when she started talking, wow, was I wrong? She said things like, "Is that why we never have sex? Because you're out there having sexual relations with your mother? And you're sick in the head. You need help, therapy, and a psychiatrist." She brought up all these issues about them never having sex, never spending time together, him not giving her compliments, treating her poorly, ignoring her when she talks, and holding grudges against her for months. The list goes on and on. Then she suddenly stopped, started dry heaving, covered her mouth with her hand, and said she was going to throw up. My wife got up and held her while she continued dry heaving and called him a sicko. Then he just said, "Go to hell, all of you," stormed out of the house and started walking down the street in the neighborhood. I ran up to him and caught up, asking him to come back and calm down, but he completely ignored me. He called his mom, and she came and picked him up a few blocks down the road while I tried to talk to him. When he got into the car, he slammed the door, rolled down the window, and said, "Never ever talk to me again. I'm deleting you from my life for good." Then he rolled up the window, and that was the last time I spoke with him. I went back to his house and tried to console his wife with the help of my wife. She told me about all the issues they were having and how deep down she knew what was going on, but he was happy and she didn't know how to handle it. On Monday, I went to his mother's house, but she refused to open the door and even threatened to call the police if I didn't leave. His wife hasn't seen or spoken to him since that Saturday, but we all know exactly where he is. I'm going to give everything some time to cool down before calling on Friday, hoping to talk to him or his mother. His wife has filed for divorce and asked me not to come over anymore. My best friend has blocked me on everything. I don't know what outcome I expected, but I didn't want this. I'm angry, and I blame his wife. Honestly, this could have gone so differently, so much more smoothly, but no. She snapped and went into full-on attack mode. Maybe she has been living with this for years, and it all finally erupted violently. Maybe this was her way out, and she didn't care about saving her marriage or ruining our friendship. I'm angry that we planned everything, and then boom, everything fell apart. Whatever the case may be, that weekend, I lost my best friend, and it hurts so much. I don't even know what he's going through right now. Was he being honest? Was he telling the truth? Was he lying to us? So many questions and so much heartache right now. Anyway, over the weekend, I bought Scum to help take my mind off things. Sitting there and losing myself in a different reality seems good right about now. Many of you wanted an update, but there's no happy ending, no answers to our questions, just ruined friendships and a broken marriage. So yeah, that's where things stand, I guess. After not talking to my best friend for over a year and thinking that I lost him forever, I received a very interesting call 2 weeks ago. It was him and he wanted to talk. He asked to meet at our normal hangout spot, and I said, yeah. And he said the date and time, and before I could continue to say anything else, he hung up on me. I didn't know what to think, honestly. I was happy, but I also was extremely worried. When we met up and he looked like shit. His face was pale, bags under his eyes, and he looked miserable. I ran over to him and gave him a big ass hug. I started crying and said how sorry I was for accusing him of that type of stuff and how he's my brother no matter what and all this other stuff, mostly just spilling my guts and blabbering away to him. He hugged me back and we both cried and apologized, 2 grown-ass men crying like babies. After the initial waterworks, we sat down and he told me how his wife had divorced him and how she spread all these lies about him and stuff on her Facebook. How he had gotten fired from his job because of those lies and all of this other stuff that all came from that messed up half-ass attempt at an intervention. I just sat there feeling like complete trash knowing that I caused all of this. Just as I was about to apologize, he cut me off and said, "Wait, there is something I need to tell you, man. Remember when I was younger and my parents got that divorce and I told you that mom got really crazy afterwards?" Yeah, I remember. The divorce was bad and ugly. His dad cheated on his mom with some super young chick at a fast food place. He told me that after the divorce she started drinking a lot. Sometimes she wouldn't even be able to take him to school or go to work the next day because she'd be so sick. The drinking got worse, and one day when he was 15 and sleeping in his bed, his mom came home super late and came into his room completely hammered and sexually abused him, and then had the audacity to snuggle up in bed with him and pass out. After that night, she'd drink, get drunk, and then sexually abuse him, and when she was sober, she'd act like nothing happened. She even started telling him that he was the man of the house and that he had certain responsibilities now that he's the man of the house. This abuse continued all the way up until January 1st of this year. He finally had enough and put a stop it. He said he hasn't seen or talked to his mom since March of this year. I just started crying, man, like seriously crying. Here I was thinking I was his best friend and I didn't even know what was going on all these years. I kinda expected something, but I wasn't 100% sure and I didn't have any type of proof at all. He even said how he thought about harming himself until he met his wife and she took him out of that house. But his mother would still call him over or plan getaways just to get him away from her. His mother hated his wife with a passion. I never knew he was suffering alone all these years. How could I even begin to call him my best friend or my brother when I was never there for him during all these years he was going through stuff? He asked me not to say anything to my partner and if I could keep this between me and him. Of course, I agreed without hesitation. We spoke about him getting help, and he made me promise not to say anything about this to anyone. He said he doesn't want his mom to get into any trouble, and he doesn't want her to suffer because she's already suffered enough from his dad. I cannot, for the life of me, believe that all these years she's abused him, and he's still willing to sit here and protect her. He even made me promise not to do anything. Honestly, I want to burn her house down with her in it, and I'm sorry if that sounds cruel, but that's what she deserves. I am so incredibly angry and sad and everything in between. I know I said I wouldn't do anything, but I cannot sit around and let her get away with this. All these years, and she's just going to live her life carelessly, while he now has to spend the rest of his life seeking help and getting his life in order. No way. Oh man, I don't know what to do, what I should do. I love him, he's my brother, so I will be there for him and help him get the help he needs. But damn it, she... Grr. I am going to keep his secret safe with me. He's back in my life and I'm given another chance. I won't mess this up again by jumping the gun. I'm just so damn angry. My heart is hurting, and I feel so terrible. I really want that woman to pay, but at the risk of losing my friendship, it's been almost 2 weeks. He seems like he wants to get help, but he doesn't ever make the effort to do so. Maybe he's afraid or ashamed. I did call the rape crisis line and I spoke to a few people. Everyone said pretty much the same thing. I cannot force him to get help. He has to both need and want to be helped. He has to put the effort in doing so. I also went to the police station and asked a few questions, but nothing can happen any further until he chooses to come forward with anything. But I'm not going to push him to do anything as of right now. I mostly just wanted some information and answers about a few things. My question is, does anyone know of anything I can do to help give him the support to motivate him to take the first step in getting help? Or am I rushing things? I moved him in with us for a while until he gets back on his feet. The McThrift Hotel he was staying at was disgusting, but he's good with us now. We've talked and also played a few cooperative games together, but whenever the talk comes up about what to do next, he switches it to finding a job and getting himself together. He has mentioned a few times needing therapy and getting help, but never acts on it. Would it be okay for him to just up and get a job and move on, or should he try and get some help before that? It is truly heartbreaking to read about the experiences your friend has endured. It is commendable that he found the courage to speak up about the sexual abuse he has suffered. The fact that his mother subjected him to such abuse for an extended period of time is deeply disturbing. It is important to offer support and love to your friend as he navigates this difficult journey. I anxiously unwrapped the jewelry box, hoping for a necklace that symbolized our son's birth flower. But as I opened it, my heart sank. It was my birth flower instead. With just hours left before our celebration, I debated whether to express my disappointment or keep it to myself. Here's how it all went down. My husband and I celebrated our wedding anniversary this week, but we decided to delay the celebration until this weekend. We have a tradition of exchanging gifts for anniversaries, and this year the theme is flowers/fruit. Since my husband isn't great with gifts, he asked for ideas last month, and I sent him a link to an Etsy shop that sells birth flower jewelry, and told him that I would like something with our son's birth flower. I also let him know that getting me flowers or anything else would be fine as well. For his gift, I bought chocolate-covered strawberries, wine, because grapes, and visited a fancy cheese shop to get some fruit-infused cheeses, meat, etc., to create a really nice charcuterie spread for tonight. I'm planning to set up a picnic in our living room, and I think it will be really cute. I also got him a card and wrote a heartfelt message, just for reference. On the eve of our anniversary, I opened a prime box he handed to me, revealing a jewelry box inside. The box was clearly labeled, Birth Flower Necklace. My heart sank a little. From the look of things, it appeared he had ordered the necklace with my birth flower, not our son's as I had hoped. Adding to my dismay, the packaging suggested it was one of those cheaper products you find on Amazon, the kind that tends to tarnish quickly, or even discolor the skin. From past experiences, I knew such jewelry wouldn't last long. This feeling of disappointment was intensified by the realization that the Prime box indicated he might have ordered the gift after our anniversary day. In stark contrast, I had spent a lot of time and money ensuring his gift was thoughtful and special. With just a few hours left before our celebration, I felt torn. I didn't want to ruin the evening with a confrontation, but the thought of not expressing my feelings troubled me. Could I gently convey my preference for something more durable, or should I simply smile, thank him, and then tuck the gift away? I couldn't shake the nagging question, am I a jerk? So fast forward to the night we celebrated another memorable anniversary. Just for some context, each year we've decided to honor the traditional wedding gift themes. So, this year's theme was all about fruits and flowers. Contrary to the playful myth that I've cornered my husband into buying themed gifts every year, it was actually his idea to kickstart this tradition. Personally, I adore this little ritual. It gives us a chance to reminisce about past anniversaries, the gifts we exchanged, and the unique ways we celebrated each theme. After hearing some feedback, especially those mentioning that the chocolate-covered strawberries seemed more like a communal gift than just for him, I made a small change. Instead of laying them out with the rest of our picnic spread, I handed them over separately, emphasizing they were solely for him. Being the sweetheart he is, he insisted I taste a couple for the flavors, but he happily devoured the rest. And let me tell you, our charcuterie board was nothing short of epic. It was a delightful spread of flavors, and he was particularly taken with the huckleberry goat cheese paired with prosciutto. For those curious about my husband's love language, it's a combination of physical touch and quality time. The cozy picnic setup was perfect for us. We lounged close, enjoying each bite and every sip of wine. And as the evening progressed, we celebrated in the way only parents without kids around can. A good number of you cheekily inquired if that was part of the evening's agenda too. I have to chuckle. You guys sure have a quirky sense of humor. Many might think that the necklace was the only thing he got me, but there was more to the evening than met the eye. As the evening unfolded, he surprised me with fresh flowers and a bottle of my absolute favorite wine. Chuckling, I teased, "Grapes do count as a fruit." Evidently, we both had the same train of thought for our anniversary. The next morning, over breakfast, I broached the subject of the necklace. "I really appreciate that you remembered my mention of the birth flower gift," I began tentatively. "Would you mind if I exchanged it for one with our son's flower instead?" He took a sip of his coffee and shrugged. "No worries, it wasn't expensive. I just recalled you talking about it recently, so I thought of getting you something on those lines. If you've got something else in mind, let's just order that." I couldn't help but smile, reminded of his usual easygoing nature. All that anxiety over approaching him had been needless. So, our night was splendid, filled with love and understanding. I'd like to emphasize that a single story doesn't encapsulate the entirety of a person, a relationship, or a journey. My husband and I share a wonderful bond. He's a fantastic partner and an incredible father to our child. And to address some of the comments, I'm far from the bridezilla someone labeled me as, and he's definitely not the character another commenter made him out to be. A big shout out to the kind soul who alerted Reddit cares, though. Your heart's in the right place. We even decided it might be time for baby number 2. Here's to more beautiful memories and building our life together. It can be considered a trivial reason to argue as a couple. Gifts should be seen as material possessions, and the real worth of a relationship lies in the love and empathy shared between partners. Open communication and understanding are crucial in resolving any disagreements and fostering a strong and healthy relationship. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now, or you're definitely the jerk.